The Diaries of a Wannabe Board Game Designer. Entry date 1st of May 2025. I'm JP Kurikka and I am a wannabe board game designer. I hope that someday I get my board game or board games published. Something that I've designed is something that people play. We'll see if that ever happens. If it doesn't, this has been a nice trip, nice hobby, and a lot of fun. There's value in that also. But of course, my dreams are that someday something that I design gets to the public. It's been 4 years since I've started on this game idea that I'm currently mostly working on. I have lots of ideas, but first game I started to really put together was a card game, is a card game. And I learned something about prototyping, testing, and I'm going to tell you in this episode what I've learned, what I've done, so you can learn from my mistakes, perhaps copy something if you want something that you think that I've done correctly. We'll see what happens. So when the game design on the paper was almost ready, I knew what kind of parts basically I need, or cards in this case. I needed to print them out. And of course, when you have a card game, usually you don't want that the front side of the card is identified by the back side of the card. And I identified that if I just print out the cards from my own printer, I never be able to have such a quality that players don't identify, or there might be some cards that they identify, mostly not, but some cards that they identify by failed cutting or failed colors or something on the backside. So I need to figure out that. One way of doing this is to buy card sleeves that have a background that you don't show through anything. So you have plain color there by the sleeve, and you can print out anything and put your own cards on the sleeve, and that's it. What I did, I printed out A4 sized stickers that had cards on them. I think I had 9 cards per A4 sticker. I cut those out and I planted them on normal playing cards. I bought a lot of normal playing card decks. These were quite cheap, I think 50 cents or €1 per piece. So I have nowadays a lot of not so full decks of cards lying around. Perhaps I use this someday later. Oh, there was some proto cards there, not being used. This was my solution. Then I think that it was nice hobby, not necessary, but nice hobby to make own game boxes. So I got an idea what markings I should have on the box if it ever goes to sale. So let's see what I've done, what my cards look like, what are the problems, and what I've learned. So I made a lot of boxes for different versions of my game, and I think this was the first one that I made a real box. Before they were only in bags. And as you can see, all the back sides are the same. So these are the actual playing cards that I bought. And then there are stickers I stamped on top of the actual playing card. You can see that there's a 10 of diamonds back there and so on. But this made the game playable, testable. Graphics doesn't really matter. Of course, you could have a blank card that you just write yourself what happens, what the card does. That's one thing I like to do it on computer because my handwriting is pretty much terrible. Also, I get some idea what what parts I need to do to the card. So these were the cards that I used in the first tests. And one thing that every prototype needs, in my opinion, is rules. The game rules should be included, at least if you are giving the game out to your friends or someone that doesn't know the rules and you are not there to teach the game. And one important part of playtesting is to test the rules. If the people playing the game understand the rules like you want it to be played, you want the rules to be. For example, in my case, I don't know which version it was, but the first version that I gave to my colleague, and I got some feedback on the game. Yeah, it's nice. It's a bit weird, but yeah. And then they identified one problem. The problem was that an action card got triggered all over the playing time. Every turn you had mass of action cards that got triggered, and I was wondering, how can that be? Those action cards should trigger quite rarely. Only in certain play case you need to know what you do and mean to trigger the action. You don't trigger action accidentally in this game. And it turned out that they have read the card and, okay, when I put this card on the table, it triggers the action. And that was not the case. That was not what I meant there to happen. You need to put that card on the certain place on the playing area that action would trigger. So there was some problems with the rules. The rules were not clear enough. So I need to fix that. And I think that there's one thing that you need to remind people who are testing your game. You are not testing the people. You are not testing the testers. They play. They can do anything they like. They interpret your rules how they like, how they understand them. You are testing your game, not the people. That's very important for every tester to understand. If something goes wrong with a game, the testers are not stupid. Your rules are. Your game is. It's your fault as a designer, not the testers. So this is something that all the testers need to understand, that they are not failing. Your game is failing. And it's important that person who is testing, your friend who is testing your game, doesn't get the idea that he or she is being tested. So I would always stress out that I'm testing the game. There might be something wrong with the game, and I'm trying to find out what's wrong with the game. So play as you would, and tell me how you feel, what happens in the game, what was weird, do you need some clarification somewhere, and it's never player's fault. It's always designer's fault. Sorry, we designers, we make mistakes. There are a lot to... there are a lot of things that we need to learn to make our game good. Okay, back to the boxes. At certain points, I understood that I've tested the game so much that I need to know which version I'm getting feedback of. So I started to print out on the box the game version. Here it says Proto 3. Okay, now I know from the box that this is Proto 3. Also, I assume, let's see what's in the box, there should be something told in the rule book. Yes, it says, actually here it says Proto 3.2, so it's a bit more developed version of the 3. I could use same boxes, same cards, but put different rule version in it, and we'll see what happens with that, how players understand that. Also, when I studied this industry, or how to make or how to publish the game, I noticed that in Europe you need to have CE marking on the game boxes. And also, if you're publishing a game and children might play it, it might be that you have not intended it for those children, but they can still play it. You need to follow the toy directive guidance to make safe toys. So that's something to keep in mind when you are publishing a game in Europe. Good factories help you with that. But this is one reason why I'm looking for factories that are located in Europe, because I can be more certain that they follow these guidelines and I can safely put this CE marking in my game if I self-publish a game. I don't know if I self-publish or do I look for publisher. But any case, of course, you need to have all the markings, age rating. I think that this game is suitable anyone from 8 years up. The length of the game, well, approximately half an hour. I think that most games go under that when playing this, but if you have a lot of players, then it might take this half an hour. And this is one thing. I really don't know where these game lengths come to the game boxes. I really don't know, because every time I play a game, I think that the time on the box is something totally different than real time that I spend playing it. Usually when we play with my friends or family, the time is much longer. Usually. Of course, first time playing the game is understandable, we are learning the rules, it's slow, but still, are these quite over-optimistic somehow, so that usually if you print out that this is a 15-minute game, then it's half an hour and so on. Well, I figure out this, that I ask my testers how long did the game take, and I have some kind of average there. Currently, I think it's a little less than 30 minutes per game. It should be. I'm aiming to faster game that you can play and play again, and you don't need lots of time to do that, because I don't have lots of time when I'm playing games. Unfortunately, I would like to play more of these strategic long games with my friends, but as a middle-aged family guy who has to work also, then I don't have time, so I like the shorter ones. And of course, we need to have marking that how many players this game is for. Mine is designed for 2 to 5 players. And of course, well, not of course, in Finland you need to have game rules, markings, mostly both in Finnish and Swedish. We need to have in Europe, we need to have a manufacturer's address and name on the box, things like that. There are a lot of technical rules that go on with the game design. So you need to be aware of this. These are nothing to do with the game itself, just the rules and things. Then one thing I noticed about the prototype boxes, I have QR code here. Actually, I've designed that this is the place for the barcode in the shops. Okay, that's one technical thing. You need to find out your barcode somehow by that one. If you are self-publishing, of course, if you have a publisher takes care of that. But in the prototypes, I have this QR code and a web address where I have a form that is used to collect feedback. I like to get feedback anonymously. I don't want to know who gives me feedback, so they can be more straight coming what comes to the feedback. They can say that this game sucks, and I don't know who said that. I'm not offended anyhow. It might be. This version is not good. So what I'm asking in the form, there are few questions I'm currently asking, and I think that should be asked. First of all, of course, I need to know the version. If there are a lot of game versions around the world that I'm making or testing, so that's one thing. But what I need to know, how many players did you have? Did you have 2, 3, 4, or 5 players that played my game. Because that makes a big difference. I need to know age scale. What age scale? Were all players between 20 and 40? Were there only children between 7 to 12? Some kind of mixing of those? Was it a family where there are small children and adults? It's good to know because that gives some idea what kind of groups like or dislike the game. Then I want to know who is answering. The answer's age. I have a multiple choice question here that has multiple choices: under 8 years, 8 to 12 years, 13 to 15 years, over 20, and so on. So I have some kind of an idea: is this a child or teenager or adult who is answering to these questions and giving me feedback? How the game feels to that aged players. That's, for me, that's important thing. At least from marketing point of view, what can we print here on the box? What's the age that needs to be there? Then one important thing is to know how many times the testers have played this game. Was this first time? So there are some things that they don't know. They are just learning the game. Have they played this 1 to 3 times before? They know the idea, perhaps don't remember all the rules by heart, and so on. So I can concentrate on that. Or have they played this many times before? That gives some background information. Then, as I already told you, I'm asking how long it took to play the game. And the most important part, I think, most important question that I have here is, would you like to play this game again? Of course, we want to make fun games that are fun to play. And if player don't want to play it again, it's not fun. So this gives me an identification if this playable. Is this game fun? We need or want players to want to play again and again and again. Not every time. There might be games that and there are a lot of games, almost all the games I own are the kinds of games that I'm not always mood of playing. But if it could be played again, then we are on right track. I have 3 options: no, maybe, definitely. So this tells me something. Then I want to know if they played through the game or didn't they finish, and if they didn't finish the game, what was the reason they didn't finish the game? Was it that it wasn't interesting enough for all players, so they quit? Or was it too long? Or was there something else? Well, we didn't play because mommy called us to it, or I had to go to school, or something else happened. What was the reason? So these are the already available options in my questionnaire. What happened? Why didn't you finish? Or was there something else? And one also important question I have here. I'm a big believer in the NPS questions. So this isn't pure as theoretical NPS questionnaire should be, but I have a question. Would you recommend this game to your friend? From 1 to 10. 1 is never ever, I'm not gonna recommend this, and 10 is definitely. And I can calculate certain NPS points based on this question. Everything positive, it can be value between -100 to +100, and anything positive is quite good. But the bigger the number, the better. So this gives me some kind of idea if people would recommend, hey, could we play this game together? What else? Then I have a similar question. What did you like about rules? Were they clear? And of course, few open questions. What was good in the game? what do you think that would need to be improved in the game? And of course, I'm a very business oriented person. I would like to know how much the tester would be willing to pay from the game in the shops. If they would like to buy it, how much they would be willing to spend on it. That's a more business question, and of course it requires that the materials or the artwork and this kind of stuff is done. But I get an idea what's the expected price range might be. And of course there is this whatever you want to say about the game that I've forgotten to ask. This is my questionnaire. Probably it changes in the future, but this is what I've been using so far. So these are my ideas about prototyping, playtesting. This is something that I will be doing lots and lots of more in the future. I need to find a lot of test players for my game so I get an idea what I need to improve, what's good, what I need to keep, and also to make people think about my game or remember me, remember my game. This is also kind of pre-marketing. Hey, if you're interested, this might come to the shops sometimes in the future, or Kickstarter or whatever. So this is also building the audience for the game. So this is one thing of that, but most importantly, this is something that helps designer to design a better game than it is without testing. I think that this is it for this journal entry. We'll see what happens next. One thing I'm also thinking about making this game digitally available in Tabletop Simulator for testing purposes. I don't know nothing about that matter, only the abbreviation, which is TTS. I was wondering what this is when I read the term first time from the forums. It's Tabletop Simulator, and I'm assuming that I can put my own game there and make it available to the playtesters all over the world. For that to happen, I need to make different new rules. These are currently in Finnish. I need to make them in English to get players from all around the world. That also covers some card graphics, text on the card, so that also non-Finnish speakers can understand the game rules and so on. So it's not going to happen today or tomorrow, but that's something that I'm studying or trying to do next. We'll see. Perhaps next entry is about that or something else. Thanks for watching.